We are live. What's up, game changers? Man, we're already having a fired up conversation before the live call, so you guys are in for a treat. I want to dive right in. We're both not big on giving you a long intro. You guys know MJ Demarco. Most of you guys have read his book. You've studied him. Some of you guys are in the Fastlane forum, but he's an investor, a self-made multimillionaire, New York Times best-selling author of one of the best books ever written. Not someone that I just read that online like it's a best book. It's one that I've read 7, 8, 9 times, and it helped me in my entrepreneur journey tremendously. I think it has close to 900 5-star reviews on Amazon, which is extremely rare, and it's became really a worldwide phenomenon. Then, after a couple of years, he writes another book, and I'm like, there's no way that that book could top the Millionaire Fastlane because it was so valuable, so tactical, so relevant. And then he came out with Unscripted, which is amazing. I was just talking to him yesterday. This could be 2 or 3 books with the value that's packed in this as well. So now he's the founder of the Fastlane Forum, a worldwide discussion forum dedicated to the advancement of Fastlane entrepreneurship and the philosophy behind it. It features almost 40,000 entrepreneurs from over 500,000 contributions. But for me, I'm excited about this call because MJ is one of the realest entrepreneurs I know, and I have massive respect for this person. Now, if you guys know me, it's very tough to get my respect because you actually have to not just practice what you preach, but be world-class in different areas and really get real results. He started from scratch. He's built an empire. He's went broke. He's made millions. He's been in the trenches, but he's really solving big problems. He's created his own lane, and he's in his own world. He doesn't concern himself with the script of society. He creates his own. So I'm excited, MJ. Thanks for being on the call. This is your 2nd time on the Game Changers Academy. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
What's up, boss? Good. Thanks for having me, man.
So I don't know how you did it. I have much respect for you. You're a writer, first off. You're very good at writing and really articulating what entrepreneurship really is. This book is a game changer, and I don't know which. I like them both. I can say this one because it's newer, but the Millionaire Fastlane had a massive impact on me as well. But Unscripted, I want you to, for the small amount of people who haven't read this or researched it, Unscripted, I want to talk about what that means. Can we start with that and then go from there? Because I'm very curious on how you explain it besides me reading the book. So let's explain to the academy.
Unscripted is being retired from scripted dogma. And scripted dogma is pretty much the template that life has given you. It's the template society has given you. And it goes so much deeper than just, the obvious template is the old, go to school, go to college, graduate, get a job, yeah. And that's the very superficial script that we're all kind of aware of that scripting. But it goes so much deeper into what kinds of dogma we're constantly just inundated with from society. And it all comes back to we're being indoctrinated to be obedient to a system that keeps you enslaved for life. And it starts with a bunch of hyper realities. Hyper realities are the things that keep you scripted. A good example of that is Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday is a human construct. It's a part of the script. And it's automatically default to make you think that, okay, well, Monday through Friday is for work, and Saturday and Sunday is for play. See, that's a scripted dogmatism. There's no celestial reason in the sky for that. Your dog doesn't know there's a Monday through Friday. It's just a purely human construct for economic obedience. And Unscripted is it's more of a holistic philosophy using the power of entrepreneurship to get away from all these constructs, all these hyper realities that are training us to be obedient to a system that does not really deliver happiness. It doesn't deliver freedom. So Millionaire Fastlane is a great book. It's more centered on, making a lot of money, freeing yourself that way. Unscripted is also about that as well, because you need money to be free, let's face it. But it also goes into the societal constructs that are there to keep us pretty much imprisoned into a debt cycle, into a work cycle. And I'm giving people an alternative that exists out there where you can be free. You don't have to be a frugal, crazy person that's, scavenging for expired meat behind the dumpster because you want to be frugal and save money for 50 years. It's an alternative that you can live well, do what you want, and retire from all the scripted dogmatisms that exist in society. So there are scripted entrepreneurs all over the place. Elon Musk is unscripted, and he's unscripted not because he's retired, but because he's actually out there with a meaning and a purpose and doing whatever he wants without the encumbrance of money. And that's, I'm unscripted because I'm writing books that probably a publisher wouldn't publish, but I can do it because I'm unscripted. I can pursue a meaning and a purpose without the encumbrance of money. Mark Zuckerberg, he's unscripted. Now he's, that he's worth billions. He gets to do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants, and supposedly he wants to get into politics. That's his passion. So this is a means to become to make a difference without the encumbrance of money. Because once you remove money from the equation, a whole new world out there opens up for your exploration.
And that's one thing that attracted me to you, MJ. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs in this kind of the space we're in, which we'll talk about too. But you're one of the ones that really are living in your own world. You don't accept any conventional wisdom, and I really like that. One of my favorite quotes that you say is, if you accept conventional wisdom from conventional people living conventional and average lives, you can't expect anything else but to be conventional. So that's one thing I really, really want to help people comprehend, because one of my goals for the Academy was to create real game changers, real entrepreneurs who solve real problems. And in order to rise above the noise, they not only have to master these principles, they cannot have any scripts. They cannot live by any of society's standards. So do you remember when you were kind of fed up, or when you realized there was a script that you were subconsciously following?
Well, it's pretty clear when you see the script is designed to keep you encumbered into mediocrity. The whole world is talking about, TV shows, and, so-and-so is, they canceled that, my favorite show. It's like I'm living amongst a world that is just totally like in a zombie apocalypse. I don't care that, NBC or HBO canceled just some damn show. The other thing is financial. We're told that the way to wealth is to give all your money to Wall Street and then to wait 50 years. And, if you're lucky, you're alive after 50 years and you're a faithful investor and you live frugal, don't enjoy yourself, God forbid. Be frugal, and by the time you're 65 years old, you'll be able to retire rich. And see, that's another scripted dogmatism where you're fully entrusted to give your money to Wall Street. And, I didn't get to retire 30, 35 years early because I trusted Wall Street. Wall Street had nothing to do with it. And you'll find the most successful entrepreneurs will also give you the same feedback. They're living a rock style life, not because they gave money to an index 500. They gave money to their business. They grew it exponentially. They were perhaps, they didn't spend all their money when they made it. So that's when you realize that the world is not tailored toward entrepreneurs. It's tailored for creating economic slaves in the work cycle, economic slaves in the job cycle, economic slaves in the Wall Street, give us your money for 50 years cycle. And again, my books are trying to get people out of that motif into a different alternative that exists, which is also difficult, but the other is also difficult as well. Getting up at 6 a.m. to a job you hate for 50 years and being frugal for 50 years, that's also difficult. So I don't want to make any, claims here that anything is much easier, but the rewards are far different.
You might as well take the one that's difficult that you actually like the rewards. You know what I mean? And I really, there's some people that are still in it, MJ. So I really want to talk about, simply put, the steps to kind of reject the script. Is it to get around people that have not taken that script in and created their own script? Is it to take the steps in your book? Is it to write certain things down? How was it for you to get away from that script? And is there any steps, if there's young entrepreneurs or even people that have been in the script their whole life and they're sitting here like, oh my gosh, he's so right. They're inspired to change. They're going to get your book. Is there anything else you can share if there's a little fear involved for people and how to reject that script?
Well, the primary anchor to a script is the trading of your time. And where it's acceptable for you to trade your time 5 days a week, 50 years. And once you realize that you can make money not being linked to your time, and actually once you experience that, it's like a light bulb goes off for people. And you just cannot get rich. Or when I say get rich, what I'm really talking about is getting yourself free from, these demands and whatnot. The way you do that, obviously, is you have to create something that exists separate from space-time, from yourself. And it has to be leverageable in terms of scale and the ability to replicate it among the masses. And doesn't need to be among the masses insofar as millions and millions. It only needs to be thousands and thousands, because once you experience, holy shit, I just got up and I made $600. I've been sleeping most of the night. Once you realize that paradigm shift of no longer making money just because you traded your time, and you have it into a scalable enterprise, all of a sudden, making $5,000 a day doesn't seem too outrageous. It actually happens all the time. So once you get acclimated to that kind of system where time is no longer an enemy, it's actually your ally, this idea of becoming a millionaire after a couple of years is really possible. It becomes probable. It doesn't become unlikely. So that is the essence of trying to create something that makes time your asset and not your liability, because right now it's a liability in all scripted things.
I had like 300 light bulbs go off in your first book when I was reading it, because I was at that stage and it just kept going off. So I really want to dive into the Fastlane entrepreneurship, not only productocracy, but time, control, scale, entry, and need, because you hit on it in Millionaire Fastlane, but you dive in on this as well. So what do you feel like the best way to bring that up to people that haven't been introduced to it? Do you want to walk through each one? Or I know you've done a lot of different messages throughout our industry with these 5 things. What do you feel like the most effective way to talk about it would be? Because I really want people to understand the power of time, control, scale, entry, and need.
Well, you want to look at things. All my books are written with a transcendent purpose, meaning if someone looks at this video 2 years from now, my book will still have relevance. Millionaire Fastlane, I wrote, I don't know, 9 years ago? I can't even remember.
Wow.
But it is still absolutely relevant today. So that's what we want to think about, is things that are going to improve your probability for succeeding. So everything I've written is based on that. What is going to increase your probability of succeeding, not just paying the bills and getting on for the month, but actually creating some dramatic life change that's going to affect your life for the rest of your life. So I deal in probability, and the sense network, the sense framework, is based on probability. If you want to increase your probability of creating something that actually is going to change your life. And sense is an acronym for control. You want to control your business, meaning you don't want anyone that's going to be able to say, we changed our terms of service. We're gonna cancel you, and then all of a sudden you're out of business. A lot of people are making a money hand over fist on Amazon, and that's great. they're also violating control, which means there's some risk there because Amazon could look at you and say, we don't like what you're selling. We're going to cancel your product, and boom, you're out of business like that. So that's an aspect of control. Entry is the more difficult something is to get into, the better the opportunity. So if you're looking for a business and you're like, oh, this is easy, you really don't have a business then because you're not solving any problems. So the greater the difficulty, the better the opportunity. The weaker it is to get into something, if you just fill out a form and bam, you're in business, that's a poor opportunity. I also like to think that people are just enamored with trying to find the shortcut. So when people experience hardship and difficulty, it's not that they're experiencing hardship and difficulty in doing the work, they're trying to find a shortcut. So it's like the person that can't lose weight and they're constantly looking for the super pill. They're looking for the super exercise. They're looking for something to do the work instead of actually saying, you know what, why don't I just eat right and exercise for a year straight, do the hard work, and then you'll get the results. There is no shortcut. So that's control, entry, and then N is for need. And that's basically the tabletop of the framework. And you essentially have to solve problems. You have to bring convenience where there's inconvenience. You have to do things differently than other people are doing. Ultimately, the market doesn't care about your passions. It doesn't care about what you love. It doesn't care about anything other than what kind of value you can provide to it. And I go deeply into that in Unscripted with the value array and the value competition, because we all make our buying decisions based on value. And whoever wins these value competitions, we open up our wallet and we give money. And that's how you make money. The fourth one is T for time, and we kind of went into that already. We want to divest ourselves from the act of trading our time for money. We want to create entities or products or services that are immune from our time eventually. Now, when we get started, a lot of time we have to invest in a lot of our own time. So let's don't get confused there. When I say time, it's not just to say that that happens immediately. That's a long game vision. And then finally, as S is for scale. Ultimately, whatever you're doing, you want to be able to scale into the thousands, if not millions. When you look at mathematics, insofar as how to create wealth, you don't need a lot of large numbers to make that happen. If you have a $99 product and you have 1,000 customers, that's $99,000, right there. And those aren't very big numbers. So the scale is being able to scale that into to an unlimited framework. And this is why people who have jobs don't get rich, because they're tied to mathematics that aren't favorable for wealth. And that's 24 hours a day, 50 weeks in the year, 365 days of the year. These aren't numbers that are geared for wealth. So that's the sense framework: control, entry, need, time, and scale. Apply all those into your network, into your framework, and you will improve your probability for actually succeeding in an entrepreneurial endeavor.
When I was pivoting, I used those to make sure. I'm echoing. I'm not sure why. You on mute on something weird. I was using those to make sure my pivot had all of these things. And you talked about scale. I want to share this because it was such a pivotal moment. There's local community, which is like a pool, right? Mm-hmm. There's the county, city, which is like a pond. There's statewide, which is a lagoon. There's regional, which is a lake. There's national, which is the sea. Then there's worldwide, which is the ocean. So you want something that's worldwide, because a lot of people are trying to scale, but they only have a pond. They're only reaching their city if they're brick and mortar. So that's something that and obviously I talked about it earlier with you. There is no way we could even go through 10% of what I want to cover on this call. You just obviously have to read the books because they're so amazing. But that's important for scale, because I still see people thinking that they're scaling, but they're still limited. They don't have the ocean. They don't have the sea. They just have a lagoon or a pond.
Yeah. So when you talk about scale, a lot of that comes back to your product. Is your product? I'm not saying you have to have a mass market appeal, but you have to. If your product has a mass market appeal in a niche, but it's also worldwide, that's a large market. So when people discuss, I need to scale something. A lot of times I look at the product and I'm like, that's maybe not really scalable because your market is so tight. It's almost like saying, well, how do I make my boat go faster? And I'm like, well, your boat has holes in it. How can I make it go faster? So the product, everything for me is always starting with the product, what I call a productocracy. And that's a product where 1 + 1 = 3, meaning your product is so good, you have skewed value so much that people talk about your product, people recommend your product. That's where the 1 + 1 = 3. If you're not dealing with a productocracy, scale becomes much more difficult, if not impossible. So for the productocracy, that's our ultimate objective. If we're an entrepreneur that's either starting or we're starting to see a little bit of growth, we want to continually work toward that productocracy.
So we're going to dive into this hard because this is probably the most valuable thing, one of them in your entire book, and what I've learned and what you've talked about, because it's more relevant in this new economy than ever before, MJ. So let's dive into a productocracy and really what that is, because you talk about, I believe it was your pizza place, Oregano's, right? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
And you talked about how if you have a productocracy, you're pulling people towards your business versus pushing and advertising all the time. You don't really, if you only need advertising all the time, you have a product problem.
Yes.
Right? So let's dive into that, because I want people to know whether they already have a product, whether they're in corporate and they want to start their own business. We have quite a bit of people that were crushing it in corporate, but they want to get out of that and start their own business. They need to start with making sure they not only solve a problem and add value, but they have a product that is referable, that people love, that have recommendations from peers. So let's dive in. However you want to dive in, let's really talk about, deep dive into that, because that's such a game changer.
Well, as an inspiring entrepreneur or an entrepreneur who's struggling to reach the next level, I tell people your first objective is to reach a productocracy. The productocracy is involving the pull, not the push. Traditional ways of business is a push, which means you constantly need to advertise. You constantly need to be doing something. And if you're not advertising, your business starts to fall away. It starts to struggle. That means you have a product problem. Your business should be able to survive without advertising by essence of its value in its product. So the good example is is my first book, The Millionaire Fastlane. I spent maybe a couple $1,000s advertising that book, and I only did that in the first month of release. But it continually sells year after year after year after year, and I haven't advertised in over 7 years. That's because people continually read it. They recommend it. The people who get over the horrendous title, they don't like the title, eventually come to buying it. So that, in essence, is a productocracy. So you want to build your business based on that idea. Do I have a productocracy? And the way to tell that, obviously, is, are people sharing? Are they going out of their way to do something with your product? Are they sharing it with people on Instagram? Did you see a Facebook post just randomly? When I see people sharing my book on Facebook and I have no idea who they are, that tells me there's a productocracy there. They're not my buddies. They're not my friends. I don't know who they are. Some guy across on the other side of the planet is recommending my book. That's the productocracy. So you ultimately want to leverage and go toward that objective. If you don't do that, you become what I call a money chaser. And that means you become a pusher. You push to sell your product as opposed to pull. Productocracies pull, money chasers push. So I'm not interested in being a pusher. 6, 7 years ago, if 100 people read my book and they say it sucks ass and da 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 da, that would have been the end of it. I would have moved on and went on to something different because the market is telling me we don't like that. See, the market is the ultimate judge and jury. So how do you get a productocracy? Well, that's the big thing here. How do we get a productocracy? And we do that through something called a value skew. Any business that you look at, you can reverse engineer its core elements into a value array. Now, the value array is made up of a series of value attributes. Those value attributes will tell you how you can skew value and start winning value competitions. Now, this is starting to get a little complicated here, but a value competition is anytime someone looks at product X or product Y, XY, they have a value competition that goes on in their head, and they weight these attributes, these value attributes, and they decide we're going to use this product. And this product can even be more expensive, but they're choosing it anyways because there's other value attributes that have been skewed. There could be, your website is very professionally and beautifully done. That could be the skew that pushes somebody over the edge. It could be, a female looks at you and says, oh, he's a good looking guy, and I like his picture. I'm going to use it, and that's a value skew. You could offer a no refund, 90-day refund guarantee. That's a value skew. There's value skews in every possible metric that could convey someone to buy from you or convert someone not to buy from you. So once we reverse engineer these industries that we have an interest in, where we find needs, the more of those value attributes we skew, the more sales we will win, and the more we move toward that productocracy. The good example I use is I quit using when I used to work out, religiously 4 or 5 times a week. There was a pre-workout drink that I used to use, and I stopped using it because they had artificial color in it. And see, that's a value attribute because there's no ingredient in there that I didn't want to use. So had the owner looked at that product and said, hey, let's get rid of this artificial color, let's put something else in there that's natural, that would have made me a buyer. So that would have made me give that individual money because he skewed that value attribute of removing a poor ingredient and replaced it with a better one.
And MJ, real quick, I want to go back to the scripts, if that's okay, because I think the mental piece is just so important, right? And at about the age of 24 or 25, I read your book and I started to learn about the mental shifts that needed to happen. And I just went on a journey to totally change my mindset and get myself out of those scripts. But it still took me 2 to 3 years. So some people, it takes longer than that. Some people, it takes shorter than that. What are a few steps that people can take now that they're aware that they're potentially in a script or society makes them in a script? What can they do? What are some actionable steps to really get outside of that? Because it's ingrained in us over years and years and years, right?
The first is expectation, because I believe once you see it working around you, it's very easy to be like, oh, okay. It's like opening, it's like the Wizard of Oz when the curtain comes off, and all of a sudden you can't go back to the same way of living. It's very much the same type of existence. So the first thing is expectations. You just basically want to know that what you're doing is a lifestyle. It's not something you try. I get that all the time at my forum. This Fastlane unscripted thing sounds wonderful. I'm going to give it a try. Well, I know you're going to fail because this is not how it works. You do not try it. You live this. And eventually, once you live it, once it becomes your identity, your identity will catch up with your results, where you'll actually have the type of existence you want to have. So we want to understand that this is like, the analogy I use is like baseball. You can look at the game of baseball and say, oh yeah, I want to play that. I want to be successful at that. Well, you don't go up to the plate, take one swing, hit a foul ball, take 2 more swings and strike out, go back to the dugout and say, okay, well, it didn't work. That's not how you play baseball. You have to continually get up to the plate, take swings at the plate. You're going to hit a lot of craziness. You're going to fail, That's a part of the process. Once you get into your mind that this is a part of the process, when those things happen, you're not going to be derailed. You're not going to be updating the resume. You're just going to say, okay, well, this is, baseball players strike out. The best baseball players hit 300, which is failure 70% of the time.
So it's a whole lifestyle shift. It's not just like, hey, maybe I'll try this. Good question, Austin. I think, and people in the chat were saying really good question because they had that same thing where it's taken them a while. But if it took Austin, who's really a dedicated guy, 2 to 3 years, it might take some other people 4 or 5 or even 1 or 2. Luckily, I was around mentors, MJ, that had that similar philosophy, but your book just gave me the actual roadmap and the steps. So I want to talk about execution too, the kinetic execution, but I want people to understand the importance of what you talked about before that, the push and pull. What he means is the push is buy my stuff. Like, here's my stuff, heavy advertising, buy. The pull is you want my stuff. MJ uses a different word. You want my stuff, right? And the reality is the evidence of heavy advertising, he's saying, shows that there's not really a productocracy in place. It's not evident, right? So you're suspicious of companies who advertise heavily because it suggests the product can't really pull you. It has to push, and you're not giving your money to any company that throws banners in your face. People need to understand this because I get people that ask me too, MJ, I got to advertise more. I got to do a bunch of Facebook ads. I have to do all these things to make sure the product's out there. But the reality is that kind of takes away from the success of the productocracy, correct?
It doesn't.
You advertise
I'm not castigating advertising. Don't get me wrong. What you're mentioning there is when I see a company here, like say locally in Phoenix, there's always companies on the radio with their little jingles, and you get the little mailers in the mail with the coupons in them, and they're always in there. I don't trust those companies because they're constantly in there. That tells me that they're not running a productocracy. If they stop running those ads, their business is going to start to fail. And I actually did some unofficial research on this, and I examined those companies in my local area that were heavy advertisers in this area, and I went on Yelp to look at their average reviews, and they were all 1s and 2 stars.
Yep, I remember that.
That's because they're not running productocracies, and they need to advertise. So I'm not saying you shouldn't advertise. Advertising should be like gas on a fire. Your productocracy is the fire. The fire grows on its own as long as it has the fuel. If you throw gas on it, it's going to blow up. Advertising should be your gas. Too many people in entrepreneurship are using advertising as their fire. And that's what I'm saying is you have a product problem. Sure, you can make money. There's a lot of people that make money, but you still have a product problem. I'm not money chasing and deceptive advertising and this and that. A lot of people will justify that because they make money. The means to the end is justified. And that's never been my philosophy, and it never will be.
You even go through the last 5 things you bought and why you bought them and why you don't buy certain things. There's so much valuable information for a newer entrepreneur to take and actually use when they're creating their product and their program or their business as well. Skewing value, we didn't hit on that too much. We talked about it before the call and a little bit yesterday. It's not talked about anywhere on podcasts and other books and videos. So can you share some other ways someone can think about skewing value where they're the go-to choice for customers and it goes away from their competitors?
You can do this every day in your life. Anytime you're confronted with a buying decision, ask yourself, why am I making this purchase? And you're ultimately going to expose those value attributes. Sometimes, if it's commodity type products, it will be just because the price is better. But you have, like, for instance, Peter, you have a lot of competition in your space for an academy. People chose you for a reason. Maybe they liked your videos. Maybe they liked your energy. Maybe your website is much more professional. Maybe the competition looks kind of sleazy. I don't know what it is, but all those are attributes. I'll give you an example is I always pick up attributes from my girlfriend. She won't buy stuff if it's wrapped up in plastic. That's an attribute. I'm not buying your product because it's wrapped in plastic. I mean, it seems, well, it's just a cover. It's a packaging. Well, that's an attribute for somebody. So instead of wrapping it in plastic, maybe you can wrap it in biodegradable paper. So that brings in a whole new market. All of a sudden, she's giving her money to that company, whereas that company wasn't getting her money before. They didn't change their price. They didn't change their product. They changed their packaging. So this is why every single attribute is a way to enlarge your market and then to create more opportunity for people to give you money or give you sales. Even in my own example is when I first released Fastlane, I constantly heard people talk about the cover. The cover you showed, Austin, is the newer cover, correct? But before that, I don't know if any of you have it. It was just this ugly. I liked it.
Your orange.
The market didn't like it. It was ugly, green and orange, yellow cover. And every time I looked at somebody recommending the book, they would comment on the hideous cover. So I went into overdrive and I changed it because I knew that was a value skew. People weren't going to read the book based on its cover. And I recognized that in order to enlarge the market, I had to skew that value attribute back to a more positive item. So value arrays and value attributes can be anything. It could be the pictures on your website are blurry. You have a 1-800 number on your website, whereas your other competitor has no 800 number. Their number is buried somewhere. So this is why I say you don't need to be the next inventor of some hot product. Creating value is simply skewing variables. Uber, I come from the ground transportation business, and Uber has skewed every single value attribute in the array. That's why they're a multi-billion-dollar business, because they have skewed all the taxi arrays. It's cheaper, it's more convenient, it's cleaner. It's just the long laundry list of value attributes have been skewed. So now they're a billion-dollar business. That's what entrepreneurship is about, is skewing one or two. All you have to do is skew one or two, maybe three variables, and you have yourself a business.
And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can take something and make it even better, which you talk about a lot. I love that. It's interesting. The last couple of years, MJ, I used to, with my wife when we traveled, it was like, let's look for Groupon. Now, when we find something to do, whether it's a concert or something in a specific area that's like a great event, she doesn't like it when it's on Groupon. She's like, I don't want it to be on Groupon. That means it's cheaper, everyone's there. So it's interesting how the skewing the value actually changes throughout your life and your stages of business. So it's very good, you're saying, to really pay attention to what yours is, your business partner, your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, because in that lies certain things you can change about your business. So that's something that I never really thought about. I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, we buy. I mean, whenever you buy something, you're playing this value competition in your head. So it's a process that once you become aware of, again, once taking the curtain away, you get to see how money is moved from one entity to another based on a value equation.
Yep, 100%. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, one thing, MJ, that you talk about as far as how to find these attributes that you should be focusing on skewing. In your book, The Millionaire Fastlane, you talk about how you loved customer service, which most people hate customer service, but they've got all your answers, right?
Yeah, customer service is a huge value array. That's how I built my business in the early days, was because I made sure there was constantly somebody that answered the phone. There was no press 1, press 2, press 3. my forum right now. I'm practically there every single day contributing. You're not going to get that from any other author that's going to be, showing up on a forum and commenting to their readers that say, hey, I loved your book. You're not going to get that. So yeah, customer service is a huge attribute because, as you know, you don't have to go very far to find that customer service nowadays everywhere is just plain sucks ass.
And it's automated. It's horrible. It's not authentic. It's built for the, I fully agree. So you talked about something, the market feedback. I want to talk about market mind. You say 1 week of real market engagement is more valuable than 1 month of market research and analysis. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, MJ, researching for like 9 months without taking any action. It's like, no, getting real engagement, doing your due diligence, asking questions, talking to your potential customers, clients, fans, is the game changer that you've obviously used to build your business too. So there's the market mind, there's the 3 A's, there's the 7 P's, the process. I don't know if we have time. We do have some questions from our members. We're kind of sprinkling them in as we go. But what do you feel like is valuable to talk about as far as the market mind and then the 3 A's? Because I think both of those are something that I took seriously and I used in my business and I saw results from it.
Yeah, the market mind is recognizing that the market is actually a collective of thousands and thousands of people. And you never know how that market is going to react to any given product, any given stimulus, any given advertising. The only way you know is by pushing something out to them and then adjusting whatever they bounce back to you. The example I already gave with my cover. I loved that cover. Yet when I pushed it out to the market mind, it bounced back to me as, this is ugly, don't, it was just nonstop a collection of that. So that tells me the market mind does not agree with my opinion. So I listened to the market mind and I went in and changed it. So the process of assessing what the market mind is doing is what I call the 3 A's. You assess. That's, oh, gee, a lot of people are sharing my book, but they're all complaining about the ugly cover. That's assessing. Then adjusting is taking whatever information they're doing and tweaking it. Again, we're all working toward this productocracy, and then tweaking it. So it's act, assess, and adjust. Act, put it out to the market, assess. What are they saying? Are they saying anything? That's a market feedback as well. That's an echo. You spent $20,000 on ads and you got no conversion. That's an echo, even though nothing really bounced back to you. And then you adjust. You move to based on whatever the feedback is saying. In the case of you spent all this money and no one bounced back, there could be multiple failures there. You're not reaching the right channel. You're not having the right messaging. You're not reaching the right target. I mean, there's so many variables that are involved here for you before you can even say, my product is a failure. Now, you can't really say that unless you analyze all these other things first, because you can have 1 or 2 of them wrong. You can have the best product in the world, but if you're hitting the wrong market, or you have the wrong messaging, or you're doing the wrong targeting and the wrong audience, the market's going to bounce back a false flag. And that's what we don't want. We want a flag. If it's going to succeed, it will tell us. If it's going to fail, we want to make sure all those things are tackled properly. Otherwise, we could be quitting a product that actually has potential. So
I wish I had this kind of stuff years ago as well. This is such valuable information because most people don't adapt and adjust. And you're right, they call themselves a failure or their product a failure too soon. Where do you see in this array, MJ, based on your forum, based on conversations, based on research, podcast, paying attention, where are you seeing entrepreneurs up and coming messing up over and over and over and over again when it comes to product, assess, adjust? Where are you seeing like the common mess up that we can kind of take care of?
They're stubborn. They're stubborn. They want what they want, and they don't care what the market wants. Because they have all their selfish inclinations. I want to be my own boss. I want to own a Ferrari. I want to, go to the movie theater on Tuesday. Yeah, that's wonderful to motivate you, but the market don't give a fuck about any of that shit. So when their product is giving, the market mind is giving them signals that the market is not interested in what they're offering, they're stubborn and they refuse to change it, or they refuse to pivot, or they refuse to do whatever. You know, all the businesses we see today have done some kind of adjustment, you know, in their modalities. Instagram was not started off as an Instagram with pictures. It was more of a check-in type of place. So they saw what the market was bouncing back to them, and then they shifted. So this also falls in line with the old philosophy of do what you love and follow your passion. You can't pay your mortgage with passion. You can't pay your mortgage with fuzzy feelings of love. Again, the market don't care about all that stuff. And once you realize that, once you start creating value and the market is bouncing back, gee, my God, your product changed my life. Or Peter, I've been in your academy for a year now, and I just eclipsed $20,000 in profit this month. When the market mind starts bouncing back these echoes of your value that you have created, that's very passionate. That's what I call a feedback loop. So it has nothing to do with following passion. Passion, you ever notice a baseball team or a football team that's losing? Do they look passionate? No, they look miserable because they're losing. Winning inspires passion. So start a business based on value arrays and where there's actually genuine needs, and then build something, and then the passion will fire once the market starts telling you, we love what you're doing. Because passionate ventures are usually very crowded. They're saturated. They're all Me Too business. And when that happens, what happens is they fight down to the cheapest price, best price wins. And that's not how you create wealth in a commoditized space. The cheapest price, and then it just doesn't work.
Oh man, this is amazing stuff, and I really hope people take this to heart and comprehend this, because it's so relevant today, and it's needed if you want to thrive. I'm going to ask a question. We have quite a bit of influential people, MJ, that have a lot of influence. One of our questions from Pager is catastrophic events or tragedies, worldwide instability. How do you stay focused and in your zone in times like that, frustrating times, while still showing compassion and humanity? Is there anything that you want to kind of speak on with that? How do you show compassion and stay focused?
The way if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself first. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing, you know, if I was struggling to pay bills, if I was struggling to put food on the table for the family, if I was struggling, I couldn't be the change that I wanted to see. So in order to institute the change you want to see in the world, you have to change yourself and get to a position where you can actually do some influencing. You know, Elon Musk is changing the world, and he's pursuing passionate pursuits because he has the money and the freedom to do so. But I can guarantee you, when Elon Musk started his entrepreneurial journey, he wasn't passionate about credit card processing, because that's where he made his fortune. Credit card, I'm passionate about processing credit cards. No, you're not. But he was probably passionate once, oh my God, this system is changing lives. The system is making things easier. And now he can go after all these crazy things because he has a bankroll. He has freedom. So the best way to change the world is to change yourself and become into a position where you can influence the kind of change you would like to see.
Get passionate about solving problems, right? That's what you should get passionate about.
It doesn't matter if the problem is picking up dog shit in the backyard or personal training. If there's a need to be solved, there's an opportunity.
I will tell you this, MJ, when I went on a streak of studying the top companies, the new companies, a lot of them with millennial leaders and millennial CEOs and founders, and every single one of them, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's Uber, every single one of them that got to $1 billion, the number one determining factor was how big the problem they solved was. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing, and this was a breakthrough for me. It's like, wow, it's not about anything else except solving a problem people care about, that the marketplace wants, and you'll get paid for it. You have to have the balls, you have to have risk tolerance, and you have to execute but it's just solving a problem. And you've done that
but
at a high level too.
It doesn't have to be that big, because that, I mean, I can tell you that will scare some people away. I have no interest in starting the next Facebook, the next Airbnb, the next any of that. It doesn't have to be this mammoth thing. Again, the mathematics of the numbers that you need to change your life aren't that large. The key element there is to free yourself from time, to free yourself from the time equation that locks you into a limited set of mathematics. All of us, when we take a path, a career path, I guess, we lynch ourselves to a mathematical equation. So what we want to do is attach ourselves to mathematical equations that create wealth, that create freedom, that create the ability for you to pursue meaning and purpose, to pursue your passions, to pursue whatever you want to. Once you attach yourself to these equations, you continually work those equations until they start working for you. There's no equation in getting up at 6 in the morning and you're being paid $50,000 a year because your equation is 1 year and $50,000. That's your equation. So when you're an entrepreneur and you start using the framework I outlined, sense framework, you start changing those mathematical equations, and all of a sudden you start being able to get access to luck. People talk about, oh, you got lucky. I got lucky because I changed probability. That's what I'm about, changing probabilities. If I change my probability from 1%, slim and none, to 50%, and all of a sudden I hit that 50%, am I lucky? You could say I'm lucky, yes, but what you didn't see was me changing the probability from 1% to 50%. You didn't see that part of it, did you? But now you're going to say lucky. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to change these probabilities. So when you have a good event in your life, perhaps you do get lucky. Well, what do you get? What do you get if you're lucky? A $4,000 raise a year? Oh, whoopee-doo. Or did you just sell $300,000 in new product, or you got a new relationship that expands your income by millions and millions of dollars? So that's the essence of these mathematical equations, is when we have good things happen to us, and if we work them enough, they will happen. We want to have actions, we have to have results, consequences that actually have an impact on our life. And it's just not, oh, we'll go to the steakhouse tonight and celebrate. No, this is something more life-changing.
Yeah. We talk often about, if the numbers don't make sense on paper, they're definitely not going to make sense in real life, right? So we have two different audiences, really, MJ. We've got the people that are starting out and they're trying to get to that first 6 figures, and then we got people that are trying to make the leap, as we call it, where they're going from 6 figures to 6 figures per month. What's something that you see is the big difference between people that have, a base, they're maybe low 6 figures, versus those that are doing multiple millions? What can really accelerate that and hit that into overdrive for people?
Well, it depends on the product or whatever they're selling. I believe everything is laid in the foundation of the product. If you're not growing to the extreme you would like to grow, what has to change? Is there something in the product? Are there more value attributes that need to be skewed? Are you not dealing with 1 + 1 = 3? Are you dealing with 1 + 1 = 2? Because the essence of trying to scale, I believe, always comes down to the product. It's very hard to scale a product that doesn't have 1 + 1 = 3, because you're constantly having to push money toward it, and your expenses for advertising continually increase and outpace the way to scale. So I always like to look at the product and see what could be done there to draw more attention to, because throwing money at advertising channels and advertising venues is easy. I mean, you put a credit card up and you do it. But what you want to do is, when those customers come in, you want to make sure that that one customer generates more customers, not just because they ordered the product. So it all comes back to the value array, and of course, is it truly scalable, a scalable venture that has a wide range of people that it could reach. Like, I've written a book. I could print 1 million copies, like that, no problem. So that's, again, the product. It's all comes down to what is that product Does it have the push, or is it going to be the pull?
Huge. Good question, Austin. Really good question. So I want to ask another question from Adrian. She says, before your massive success, you left home with $1 and a dream, managing to barely get by day to day. On your journey, obviously it paid off because, like you talked about in the Millionaire Fastlane, the businesses you built. Question: you were young, unmarried, without children. Then would you have made the same decision if you were maybe married or was a father or had a family, knowing what you know now but with no money? Would you have done the same thing? Interesting question.
I would have tried, absolutely. Just because one has a job doesn't mean they can't do something on the side, or just because they have children they can't do something on the side. TV is what sucks up most people's lives in their off hours. TV and frivolous entertainment hyper realities. People crying in the stands because their NFL team lost. You know, what is wrong with you? You're not lynched to a team because you're in their area. It's just ridiculous to me that the people that waste time on things that have absolutely no matter in the world whatsoever, other than, you know, throwing a ball around or something. But no, I wouldn't have changed anything. For me, I've always knew, again, this is the lifestyle. And the lifestyle for me meant I would never get a corporate job. I would deliver pizzas. I would wash dishes. I would do whatever it takes. I remember I had data entry jobs. I had, crazy stuff. And I would have continued to do that. And if I had to get a corporate job, I would have done that if I had a kid at the time, or if I was married. I always knew that I wanted to be financially set, financially secure before I even dabbled with children or marriage, because I came from a divorced family, and I viewed that the financial strain of the relationship was one of the primary reasons why that relationship failed. So as a child, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to get myself organized and financially secure so my marriage will never have to endure that kind of problem. So this for me was started really early when I was young.
Huge. I love that. And I wanted to talk about this, but we're out of time, and I just challenge people. It's page 314, the 7 P's of process. Go from idea to productocracy. I actually wrote, MJ, study and master. I wrote this back when I got this book. But I want to end with this. First, by the way, guys, I don't really need to sell you on it at all. If you're intelligent and you've got value from the conversation, I would strongly recommend not just reading the book, but diving in and mastering it. This isn't the last question, MJ, but how do you recommend going through a book like yours with so much amazing information? Is there any certain way you recommend going through your book? One chapter, take notes and execute. One chapter this, read the whole thing and then go back. Anything just based on your experience, how you would tell someone new to kind of go through your book?
Read it very slowly. It will last you 2 months. If you read a chapter a day, it took me 3 years to write. It's over 400 pages. And I don't write things that are going to be, popular today and then tomorrow, like, here's how you do Instagram. Well, that's not going to be popular. That's not going to work 6 months from now. Everything in there is transcendent. Everything in there is truth as much as, the sun setting in the west. So read it, because it's all about, I hate the word paradigm shift, because the paradigm doesn't need shifting. The paradigm is shit. So it's about dumping this paradigm and recognizing that we've been lied to for our entire lives. There's a meme. The greatest con of humanity is going to school Monday through Friday for 18 years so you can have the privilege of going to work Monday through Friday for the next 50. So that's what the book is trying to expose in the first part of it, maybe the first 10 chapters or so, and the rest tells you how entrepreneurship can help us expose that curtain from the wizard and see what's behind there, so we can actually live a life with meaning and purpose, live a life with freedom, live a life with autonomy. Happiness has been proven to occur from autonomy. And that's why people are miserable today, because they have no autonomy. They have an alarm clock telling them to get up at 6 in the morning and telling them to be at work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for the next 50. People have no autonomy. This is about reclaiming that autonomy in your life.
MJ, man, massive respect to you for what you've built, for who you are, for what you stand for your wisdom, for your book, for your friendship with me. It means a lot. I can't wait to connect with you in Arizona. But I appreciate you, man. I think that if you looked at the chat, the Game Changers are getting very excited. They have a lot of amazing feedback. I've seen breakthrough moment like 8 times in the last like 10 minutes. So I appreciate you, man. Thanks again for who you are and what you do. And for me and Austin and the Academy, much respect. I look forward to continue building our relationship, and I will continue to promote the heck out of this book and Millionaire Fastlane for as long as I live, because it made such a powerful impact on me. And by the way, guys, get his book on Amazon. He has Instagram, Facebook, but the number one thing I'm focusing on, guys, is get the book and master it as well. Do you want him to go to the unscripted.com, or is it on Amazon? What's better?
Amazon is fine, and I think there's over close to 250 reviews already. It's been pretty good so far. So yeah, and if they, if they're not sure, they can check that out, see what people are saying about it. So it's been the reviews on it have been I'm actually surprised the reviews are that good, because it's pretty some hard-hitting stuff that I figured a lot of people would be offended or they'll take it the wrong way. And I'm actually quite shocked that it's been doing so well.
I love it, man. It's awesome. Yeah, and guys, leave an honest review. Don't just read a book. Something I've been talking about is really appreciating the art that's out there. I try to give reviews to every book I read, and an honest review, but leave a review as well. Let's really leave good review. Well, honest review. Obviously, if you read the book, it's going to be amazing. But check out the book. Check out MJ. Check out the Fastlane.com.
Fastlane Forum.
The FastlaneForum.com is amazing as well. MJ, once again, I appreciate you, and let me know how we can help in any way and anything you have coming up. We could talk about some things you have coming up too, about your new books, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. We'll talk about that next time.
Okay. Hey,
I'm excited for that.
Man. This is always a blast.
I appreciate it, man. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. I have a couple more things for you guys, but thank you, MJ. So guys, man, so I already put in my schedule that I'm going to spend the next hour and a half reviewing the call because it's such crucial information. I have right now a couple things to review. I'm going to review his book as well. And I'll tell you right now, guys, you want to make sure that you pick 1 or 2 things that you're going to implement that are most relevant to your business, what stage you're at. It's different than someone else, right? Some of you guys are already making 300-400K. Some of you guys are making 600 or 700. Some of you guys are making 10K, right? So make sure you reevaluate this call. You put in your schedule time to look at the one thing that you're going to execute, and then put another hour in your schedule, maybe in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and go back and make sure A, you've executed what you actually wanted to execute from the call. B, you pick the next thing that you're going to take action on. What you don't want to do is focus on everything all at once, because you'll be overwhelmed. So whatever he said that stood out the most, that's most relevant to you, I would strongly recommend putting that in your schedule to take action on. And then when you read the book, you'll have a lot more actions to take as well. But make a concrete decision right now that you are going to live unscripted. You are going to build a life on your terms, be in your own world, just because everybody else around you lives by a script. And I mean almost everybody. It's tough to get out of these low standards because our society has set us up for failure. But if anyone's going to do it, it's you. It's the Game Changers. And people are counting on you to do it, not just for them, but for the people around you in your community as well. So thanks again for being part of this amazing community. Austin, amazing questions. By the way, I know I let you guys invite some people. If you're an elite member and you got to invite some people, great. If you think you have what it takes and you're not on the academy, you can check out GameChangersMovement.com. It's not for everybody, but if you want to level up your circle of influence, check it out. Austin, any thoughts? What did you think of the call?
Amazing. First of all, this is one of the top 5 books on my list, and I've read hundreds, if not thousands of books. So, and we can say that now because MJ is not here, like wholeheartedly, that book changed my life. But really, what I took away is everybody needs to go back to evaluating their business model. If it doesn't make sense on paper as far as scaling, it's not going to make sense. And Peter, you and I met yesterday to even talk about this. Everything that we do should absolutely scale. We don't care if we sell 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. going back to the business model and really starting there changes everything. And that also is the same case for if you're trying to get to your first 100K, if you're trying to get to the next level where you're making 6 figures per month. Business model, start there, and start with the mindset as well. I mean, again, Millionaire Fastlane opened my eyes to really learn that I was in this script or the slow lane or even the sidewalk. So get out of it, change your environment, and repeat every single day that you were in a script, but now you're unscripted. And Peter, we talk about life and business on your terms. That's what it's all about. MJ's last words there about freedom and autonomy, like that's just gold, absolute gold. So guys, chase that and make an impact on the world.
And remember, guys, focus on the process, not just the result. It takes a while to reprogram your mind, especially when we've been programmed our whole life. So be patient, but have hunger. Be patient, but have hunger to change that and continue executing what you know you should execute to get out of the script as well. So continue also to think and act like a game changer from here on out. If you want to be a game changer, if you want to be a multimillionaire, you have to think and act and make every decision like your future self would make when you're already in that position. Okay? We have as always, we have amazing guest speakers. Me and Austin are booking some amazing ones for next year. We have Amy Porterfield coming up, Billie Jean, Grant Cardone, Jordan Harbinger, Tim Ferriss. We have amazing speakers as always. But once again, you don't need more information. You guys want to execute what you're already learning because it's so valuable as well. So once again, if you're not in the academy and you want to apply, gamechangersmovement.com, check it out. But I appreciate you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day. This will be up in the recorded section by today or early tomorrow. Let us know if you have any questions. Post your breakthroughs on Facebook. And definitely, let's end with the most important thing. Go check out his book, Unscripted and Millionaire Fastlane. I'd read Millionaire Fastlane first if you haven't, but appreciate you guys. Looking forward to continuing to help you elevate your game and have an amazing rest of your day. See ya.